All right, I'm recording to the cloud. That's better. Um, Good afternoon or potentially morning, depending on where you're joining us from.
Mm.
This
Can you
is
guys hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now, Scott.
Hey, Blake.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, maybe he can't hear us. So that was Scott Angel, who is our special guest, who may be having some technical difficulties. So we will wait on him. I'll try and do a little bit of an intro. So, hello. This is a special meeting of the Reports Interest Group and the Evergreen Admin Group. Um, and we're going to be looking today, hopefully, at the reporting dashboard that's being developed by Scott Angel at Mobius. And whenever he is ready, I will let him go. But happy to see a good crowd. Blake, is there anything that you want to say about the dashboard while we're waiting for, oh, Scott?
Hey, I made it. I'm
Hey,
sorry. Yeah,
no worries.
these headphones, they were Windows and tech. I don't know. Computers are hard. But yeah, we got a little demo for you guys today, and we were kind of rushing to get everything loaded up. I was like literally working to the last minute here trying to get this the legend to show up a little better. It's getting cut off. I see what the problem is. It's just these computers are just they don't like me today. So I'm
Well,
having sound issues and legend issues and compile issues and
well, we'll consider whatever you're showing us to be a work in progress.
oh, it most definitely is. Hey, did you get to see the demo before?
No,
Okay, we
no.
had. Let me see here. I did have a little screenshot I took because there was a
Yeah.
couple of elements on there that are not in today's demo that I
Mhm.
still wanted to show off and let you guys uh, critique it, I guess. So I can't do images in this chat, can I? I
I don't think
can't,
so.
I'm gonna try it anyways. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's just see what we can do. And hey, yeah, I think it did.
Oh,
There we go. Yeah,
way to
so that
go.
works. But yeah, there's a couple of there's like the little metric card in there, and then whatever that is above it, I don't know what the total checkouts and adult fiction and that sort of thing. So I didn't know if that was another element that you guys would find useful having kind of a grouping of numbers like that. I don't I what I'm calling these things is metric cards, and then that one is kind of more of a larger metric card. It's
Overview kind of thing.
yeah, just kind of like a because what we have going on so far is just more or less the widgets and just trying to get all that figured out because it is a challenge. But what my goal is once we get all these little widgets figured out is to kind of like coalesce everything into an actual dashboard visual. Um, so that's the plan. We're slowly getting there. I think a lot of the hard work is actually completed. So the rest of that stuff's on Blake. He's got to figure out the database stuff. So we're we're making progress. We're getting right along. If you guys want, here I am going to give you. Are we started? Or is this meeting started now? Or is
It
everybody
is
here?
started. We are
Okay.
recording.
Okay, perfect. All right. Hey, everybody. I don't even know. I haven't even looked to see who all's in this meeting.
There's
Uh,
quite a few.
oh wow, yeah, we do. We got a lot of people here. Uh, oh wow. Stephen Mayo is here. Thanks for showing up, buddy. He's got a lot of work in this as well. So um, let's get to it. Let me get you guys a link, and we will talk dashboards. Okay, so here is your get you guys the login stuff. Okay, so there is how you guys can actually get in to see it. And like I said, this is just the widgets for now. We're still trying to get all the technicals figured out on how this is actually going to work. And then, like I said, we're gonna take what we got here and try to make it into something that resembles a dashboard. So, with your guys' input. So everything that we are able to suck out of this meeting today, we're going to make use of and really try to make it a reality. So that's the plan.
Just to let you know, Scott, I did take the initiative to invite some of like our internal like library users who are in our users group and give us feedback on Evergreen development. So we got some Bibliomation folk here. Shout out to you guys.
Perfect. Yeah. And one thing that I really can't stress enough is I really lean on you all for what I need to build. I think of me as like a code conduit. You tell me what you want, and I'll try to make it a reality. So I really need your guys' input to make this usable and have it make sense. I mean, I can sit here and make charts all day, but if it's not something that is useful for you guys, then I really shouldn't be doing it. So I need to know like what it is that you guys really want to see out of this, and just kind of go from there, I guess. Like there's some Noble stuff. We were pulling some information from Nobles. They had kind of worked up a dashboard, and I've been kind of leaning on that. A lot of Blake's information. He's got a ton of knowledge over there, so just really trying to be the guy that writes the code. But then you guys need to feed me the information on what it is that I need to create. So I can't stress that enough. So yeah, Blake. Noble's dashboard template. Yeah, it's just something for me to get inspired by, I guess. And for those of you all that may not get to see the little demo page here, I will go on and post a screenshot of it in the chat for you.
You're not going to demo it.
What's that? Oh, do you want me to go ahead and do it?
Yeah,
I can.
Yeah.
I thought we were live demoing.
I will totally do this.
Awesome.
Give me just a second here. Let me get the screen over here so you guys can actually. I've got two monitors, so
I think what everybody wants to hear is probably the basic concepts, like where we are, where we're going.
I sent the. Oh, okay, there we go. Try to do this where we don't get a bunch of mirroring. Let's try this again. Okay. All right. Dashboards. Where do we go here? All right. Let me get this on the other screen. Can you guys see it? All right. So this is kind of the state of affairs right now. We do have, I don't even know where to start. We have, Blake has created these tables that we populate. Blake, can you explain that a little better? Because I'm just going to absolutely butcher the description of what you've been working on. Um,
Sure.
yeah, perfect.
Oh, okay. Trying to keep up with the chat. The database pieces really are kind of last. So we're developing that last. Once we understand what we want the front end to look like and what everybody kind of can agree on like a minimum viable product, then we'll we'll make the database do what the front end wants to see. So right now, and I don't even know if it's worth talking about because it's probably not the way it's going to end up being, but right now we're actually creating a specialized table so that it can be indexed and super fast with with statistic. It's basically statistics tables. You know, it's a copy of circulation, but more anonymized and counted. How many for certain kind of patrons and certain org units circulated. For example. So that was to facilitate getting the data off the database quicker. And those tables are being maintained right now with a clever trigger, sort of like materialized money billable exact summary. I don't know if you ever looked at that table, but that table, we took inspiration from that mechanism, which has been in Evergreen for years and years and years. It's a table that's materialized from database triggers. So, we're basically doing the same thing, but for dashboard stats. So that's the database piece. That's what Scott asked me to talk about. And I guess I can hand it back to Scott to talk
Yeah,
about the front end. But
yeah. So, I really the main reason I wanted to mention this is because those tables is where the data is going to be coming from. It's not necessarily the live tables, and so I just want to make sure that we're covering all our bases and making sure that we're getting the data that you guys want. Really, is what my concern is. Uh, I I've been trying to think of a way to get you guys that information. I don't know if I can just give you guys straight SQL, if that's going to make sense to people, or if we should kind of create some kind of document that itemize or that lists the all the key points that we're grabbing, and then you guys. What I envision in my mind is maybe like a Google Doc or something, and it's like this is what we're capturing now, and then people can just come in and start filling in stuff, and it's like, oh, I would like to have this and I would like to have that. I think that would be great. When I look in the chat here, I see Benjamin. For the widgets, do they have default time periods? If so, could those be shown with the form element type of things so they could be altered? This is actually something that we are going to put into this. We have so the way that we're kind of thinking about this is we'll have each widget is kind of configurable independently, and so this is just kind of a mock-up right now. We don't actually have any settings populated into this. This is actually something that Steven made. Uh, this nice little card flipper. I love this. So the idea being that the times or the time uh, constraints would go into here along with whatever other settings we think might be useful. And so, yeah,
there's the bug. So the discussion, on this feature should probably take
yeah,
place there.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, that I guess instead of this Google Doc thing that I mentioned a while ago, maybe that's technically where we should be putting all this stuff. But yeah, this is kind of where we're at right now. These are live. It's actually pulling data from the database from these tables that Blake has put together, and there is more that we can do. These are just a few widgets that I've created in the last couple of days to show you guys. Uh,
I mean,
I was trying to,
yeah, the bulk of the work was the charts themselves, right? The graphic
right,
piece.
yeah.
So once Evergreen got an Evergreen chart library, which is what Scott spent, Scott's, this is your baby, man. You keep saying my name, but you did all the work. It's this
Yeah,
library that's showing the colors and the graphs and the bars and the pie charts. That's all custom code baked into Evergreen's libraries, Angular widgets and modules. So you can feed it JSON data and it'll draw a pretty graph like that. That's so now, now that that library exists and the library is functioning, now the step is, okay, what do we feed it? What graphs do we actually want to see? And we don't want to go crazy with just any graph that comes, everything possible. We got to put it on some kind of guardrails to make sure we don't um, have feature creep, So we need to keep it probably to 80% satisfaction with everybody, what everybody needs. Obviously, circulation is really popular. Most people want to see, you know, how their circs are doing today, last week, this month, this year, and that's where our primary focus was for some of these charts. And holds, so kind of circ data, holds data, that's the kind of stuff. Yeah, you can export to a CSV. That's the download button on there.
yeah. Here, I can show you that real quick. So it gives you a nice little, um,
Yeah. There's performance concerns, and some of the caching is embedded in the code, right, Scott, where it doesn't
right.
hammer the database over and over again for the same data know all the time. Now right now the caching is in the browser.
So yeah, it's browser-based cache. It's how do I want to explain it? It's each one of these widgets can have its own kind of refresh timing, which they're all just kind of defaulted to 5 minutes. So if you load the page up, 2 minutes pass, you go to hit the little refresh, it's just going to pull from the cache data, so we're not hammering the database.
Yeah.
So
And to answer Benjamin's question, these are some of the things that we should probably talk about. I think everybody that's talked about this feature so far, all the information that we've gathered, we kind of want it to just be automatically already there. Not a lot of configuration required out of the box. As far as the triggered tables and things, that's all going to be, there's no work on the administrator side. It's just going to be a part of the regular Evergreen upgrade script. And those tables aren't really meant to be customizable, so they're going to be kind of set in stone. And what you see is what you get. The tables are rigid. These are the columns that we can pivot on, and that's it. And we just want
right,
to make sure that we're getting, the 80/20 rule comes to mind, like 80% of the way there with that'll make basically the general public, the general circulation administrators and anybody that want to see the stuff visually on tables and or in charts, visualizers. If you want to get, I mean, in my opinion, my humble opinion, if you want more than what this has, then run a report. If it doesn't offer exactly like you want to see year over year trends with multiple bars, superimposed on one another, that's kind of maybe outside of the scope of version 1.0. You know, how does it know which libraries to pull? That's a good one. Yeah. So go ahead, Scott.
so the location that you're logged in under right now is where it defaults, but you can set these widgets up uh, to a particular org unit if that's what you're wanting to do. For example, this little holds by pickup library. If we were logged in under the consortium level, it would populate more data into that uh, widget or into that pie chart because it does kind of like a how do I want to explain this? It does the children, the ancestors. Is that am I using that word right? The
Yeah.
all the sub libraries or whatever you want to call it. This is all configurable. This is all driven by JSON. The widgets themselves are JSON, so the there's a lot of configuration to these. I'm trying to make it to where you guys can change anything and everything you can about these and to really make them customizable. One of the things that we're really wanting to build out is the widget designer, which is going to allow you guys to come in and kind of create your own widgets without having to know all the technicals of JSON or SQL or any of that stuff. So yeah, correct. The question was, are there permissions to block users from setting it to another library that is not theirs? Yes, that's 100% going to be a thing. There are potential privacy issues for us. That is part of the reason we're doing the materialized tables. And there's actually going to be another element to this to kind of help prevent users from accessing data that they shouldn't be allowed to access. So we're permissions is really like that's at the forefront at a lot of this. So we're not just we're not going to deal with security later. It is part of the process. So I want you guys to know that we're really thinking about that pretty hard. So I'm going to read through some of these comments here to make sure I'm not skipping people because you guys have put a lot in the chat here.
I think the idea is the gear on each of the widgets would get you closer to what you're asking about, I think.
Yeah, Jennifer, she asked, would these be set per workstation, per user, or per library, or some combination? Yeah, so all of the above.
I think
That's kind of the idea.
we don't have that built, is what you're saying, and so what is what is the right answer to that? I think it's on a per user basis, but maybe the dashboard. I mean, like right now, like Stephen Mayo added a library setting in the branch, and the library setting, which is the org unit setting, um, alters the dashboard, like decides what this page looks like which of the widgets are, appear on this page. And so it seems to me like each individual user might want this page to not necessarily, to be only the graphs they care about. In addition, I don't see why there isn't a reason these things couldn't be on the splash page. Like a widget could be one of the options for the splash page.
Yeah, that's actually I was getting ready to mention that. That's something that I feel like it feels right, doesn't it? Like, you could just have one widget on your splash page that it's like the one thing that you care about
Yeah.
right there. So I think that's great.
So I mean, the concept here is the word dashboard is more like literally a board, where you have a single page where you go and see all your graphs
Mhm.
in a grid like what you see on your screen here.
Yeah, so this here, like I was saying in the beginning of this is more of like a collage of widgets. This doesn't scream dashboard to me. This just looks like a bunch of charts. Um, I do want to kind of have something a little more organized and reminiscence of an actual dashboard versus just a bunch of charts. So, but at the same time, these charts and everything, you can kind of almost think of it as two separate things. There was the charting aspect of it that was kind of a project all in itself, and then the dashboard piece of it, which is uh, taken data that, you know, some sort of metric data that we're plugging into these things to. So these charts could theoretically be put in other places of Evergreen if a developer wanted to add that somewhere for some reason. They could use that code. So it's not, the charts aren't just for the dashboard. That's for all of Evergreen. We can use it anywhere. And then now we're getting to the point to where it's like, okay, the charts are working. I do have some legend stuff, as you guys can kind of see on the screen. The legend is getting cropped off here, um, which is actually something I was working on right before the meeting started. I just didn't get it done, but that will get fixed. But we're taking the charts, we're feeding them data live from the database, and now we're kind of getting to the point to where we want input from you all to what matters to you, like what is the most important thing to you. I would love for you guys to get on that on the bug squash link there that Blake posted. Just let me know. Just, you guys can even send me an email. I really don't care how I get the information. Just feed it to me, and I will make it so your idea can be on this page. We'll, when we release this and it finally makes its way into Evergreen, I assume we're going to have like a handful of stock widgets that you guys can start to use. And so just let me know, what do you want the stock widgets to be, and we'll get them made, and you guys can start using them whenever we get this feature actually merged into Evergreen. So it'll be there day one.
Now that it's like staring me in the face, my mind is going completely blank.
Mhm.
So I guess in order to try and jog the group's memory, like is there a stat that you go, oh man, I really want to know the information of this, but I don't want to go through all the steps of running reports for this little piece of data that I need.
Yeah, this whole thing has went through a couple of revisions. I did have a little metric card that showed just how many checkouts you guys had for that day. That's it. That's all it says. Is and here, let me see if I can't where did I, was it this one? I think it was this one. Okay, so as you guys can kind of see, current holds. This is actually uh created. It's not on this demo page here for you guys. So we do have these, like, what I call a metric card. I don't know, it's just lack for a better word, really, but uh, just a word, a number, a little icon that you guys can set, and what is it? Like, what is the number that you want to know? And so there is that. These charts, by the way, are multi-series, so we can have, like on this line chart, we can have multiple lines, different colors. Same for the bar chart. We can have multiple bars for each grouping of data. Uh, and there's a lot more behind the scenes to configure these. There's different kinds of like hatching lines that we can put in here for accessibility. That's all created and part of it. Oh, that's another thing. I haven't even touched on that. Accessibility. That was the whole point of kind of creating our own charting library for Evergreen, is so that it can be accessible. If you have a screen reader and you're clicking through these, there's a hidden table that it actually goes through, and we'll read that out to the user. So accessibility was a big thing for this. So
So
yeah.
we're getting some ideas in chat there. For right now, I can tell you what are, as far as the circulations go, we have patron profile, we have shelving location, org unit. What's the other ones? Do you know off the top of your head?
Ugh,
One
there's a
more, I think.
bunch.
Here I've got it open now. Let's see. StatCat was mentioned in chat, and no on that one. We don't have that. And that one seems like it could get pretty sticky because there's too many variables. Let me see here. The checkout date, obviously. Checkout date, org unit, copy location, and the permission profile on whether or not it was a renewal. Those are the things that you can currently. We don't have owning versus circulating library. It is on the circulation table circ library, not related to the cataloging of the item itself.
I think we would want that or some version of it.
You want the owning library of the item
Both. We want to see both.
and the circulating library of the item and the circulating library of the circulation. Those are three different places
Yes.
where,
We have a library that owns everything, and then their branches are the quote unquote circulating library, and they want to know who's checking out what where
uh, and they'd want to see that in a chart.
sometimes.
I could see that in a bar chart that would be very useful.
Because we know that we've established that the reports do that, but
Yeah. They like the graphical sometimes to be, sometimes it says more
and you
than the others.
in the context of a chart, would it look like the x-axis would be the owning and the y-axis would be the circulating and and you would say for today or for last week or so it wouldn't be over time, it would be like
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know,
Let
I'm
me,
asking. I don't.
yeah, let me look at and see if we have something in the tickets. For us, it's usually like how many items did I check out at who that are owned by another library. So for us, it's more owning or circulating, like being able to pick one or the other, and then the other
Yeah,
axis
and
would be checkout.
knowing the circ library in the chart may not be important or the owning library vice versa, just knowing that it's not yours or it is yours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we're probably more interested in the action circulation circlib, because that isn't always the same thing as asset copy circlib. I kind of made a logical assumption that we were all interested in the circulation library, the one that actually circed it, not the property of the item itself.
It's going to depend on the library,
Right.
what they want to see.
I mean, these are the things we got to watch out. Like we
Exactly.
we can't code for everything, so
Right.
I think the most it seems to me like the circulation itself is probably what we're going to be calling the circulation library, the circ library.
Yeah, the checkout library, I
Yeah.
think.
Michelle, both. I want it all. I want all the columns. Just give me basically the whole database.
Yeah. It's just for us, for some, we have one library that's set up different than everyone else's. So I feel your pain on this. So we're whatever we can do to accommodate them.
I could see owning library being added in addition to. So if we threw, oh, sorry, somebody talking? No. I could see we can add owning library probably. Yeah. The more columns you add, obviously the stat tables get thinner and thinner. So there's more rows as you go more granular. So it'll expand the stat table vertically. And then the total column where that's all added up, will get thinner and thinner. So if it was 100 and we add another column to divide by, that 100 might be 2 rows of 50 or 6 rows of, so on and so forth. Yeah, Lindsay, I agree. I think the checkout library should probably be the actual circulation library where what door the book walked out.
Yeah, I think I agree. And I think it would be confusing to say to have them both labeled the same. So yeah, I mean, in our case, they really only care about the same distinction of the owning library as opposed to the circulating library.
Mm-hmm.
And having both of those in the data would be helpful.
Mm-hmm. Also, I was envisioning more tables, and then once I started getting into the table stuff, I was like, really, circulation? I mean, that's like
Mhm.
basically what the usefulness of these charts are. I went ahead and did holds as well, which is also kind of circulation related. But then after that, I was thinking, well, do we want charts on catalog stats? Or I was thinking probably not. So we stopped at holds. We got circs and holds. uh,
Yeah. We have quite a few libraries that have, like a lot of these points are what they give to their board for the month. One that they really like is how many items did we add and how many items did we discard or,
mhm.
well, delete, or, um, to
In a
make
time
the
in a
case.
time
Yeah.
frame.
Yeah. To make the case for including that element of cataloging.
Pending patrons. Yeah, pending patrons. So pending patrons, those are in the staging schema. I wasn't even considered that schema, but yeah.
Yeah, I am loving all these suggestions.
I think in the case of the pending patrons, we may not need to make a materialized table for that. That one could probably be a number. To me, to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if that was on your splash screen, like when you logged into Evergreen, you come in the morning, you log in, boom, you have 10 pending patrons right on the splash screen, would be pretty handy. So that could be one of those stat cards, Scott,
Yeah,
and then that could be integrated into the splash screen. I really think one of the features should be in the ability to make it a card in the splash screen.
I love that. I also love this is the number of holds on your pull list. This is the number of holds on your hold
mhm,
shelf.
yeah. I actually
Yes.
had that one worked up in the last little round of this, to where I had the holds on the number of holds on
Hmm.
your hold shelf or whatever.
So I'd say those are for sure then. I think that we've pretty much decided those are going to be just one number when you log in would be, it seems pretty straightforward to me, Scott. I don't know about how you
Mhm.
feel about it, but it seems like
Yeah,
with the infrastructure that we have now, on the branch now, putting a number in a card on the splash screen ought to be, you know,
yeah,
a shoe in kind of thing,
right, right. Yeah, I think at this point we could probably have that done pretty soon. Uh,
What we don't have is it baked into the splash screen mechanism. So the splash screen, for those of you that don't know, and I just learned this, there's a whole interface to design the splash screen. That was merged in Evergreen in like 3.13, relatively recently.
hmm,
So in that designer, there need to be some edits to that designer to talk to the dashboard pieces, and it would be an option from a drop down, like what is this card, what is this splash screen card going to be? And one of them would be a widget, hey, I want the circulation widget to be this card. I'm going to call it Circs by Library, and it'll be on the third column over, second row down on my splash screen. So that code doesn't exist. We haven't coded anything for the splash screen. So there's a little bit of a lift there.
I- I'm kind of curious. So, would people value the splash screen and just having a handful, two, three of these little cards on the splash screen? Would that cover 80% of the, instead of creating a whole new dashboard page that people, we've talked about this before, to where it's like you log in, you get your splash screen. Now you got to click over to the dashboard. Would just having a couple cards there on the splash screen solve like 80% of people's questions on like really quick uh metrics on what's actually going on. I mean, with that, am I saying that right? I don't
I
know
mean,
if I'm asking my question right.
if you
Uh,
ask me, I think, yeah, I don't know about 80, I don't know if the number is 80%, but I think that the splash screen, rather than having to make a conscious effort to go to another page where there are charts,
yeah,
and if it was just right in your face on the home page when you logged into the Snap client, just accessible information just right there, ready
right.
to packaged up, ready to go. And it's just the stuff that you always want to know about anyway. How many pinned pages we have today, how many holds are, on the hold shelf. And then maybe a nice graph for like how your circs are doing this week, and how they were doing last week or something like that.
Yeah.
And maybe really the splash screen is the home for everything, and there is no dashboard. Maybe that is the
We'll see.
dashboard.
We'll see. That's kind of what I was wondering is like I don't want to just sit there and hijack the splash page for a bunch of charts, but uh, maybe one or two, and if that answers most people's questions, and maybe that's good enough. I don't know. Yeah. Okay, Timothy. Yeah, I like that idea too. To where maybe like uh, I I don't know how technical this would be, but like maybe you have the dashboard here and you click on this and maybe there's like a checkbox or something. It's like display on splash screen and you just click that, save it, you're done. And then maybe I don't know.
hmm It
Uh,
seems it seems like everybody's saying both. We want a dedicated page, and we want to be able to put.
okay. Okay.
So this is Tim. I had asked this back, but there's a lot of questions. I know y'all probably missed them all. But are y'all going to be able to, with these charts, are you going to be able to like, are they interactive like a BI interface where you can drill down into the data?
Well,
No.
for yeah, I was gonna
I mean,
say no, not really. You can download the data from
Yeah.
from the so you'll
no.
be able to download it as a CSV and
I,
analyze it that way. But as far as like what you're asking, that's
It's not going to drill down like Microsoft BI and all that.
right.
I think I know what
Yeah.
you're saying. Where like you can drag across a time period, and then it'll like zoom in, and then you get a different graph.
Well, like if you click, say, let's look at your circulation by patron type.
Yeah.
Let's say I clicked what you got there. I can't really see. Um,
Yeah, some of it's cut off. That
yeah,
was the
like if you circulation by patron type, like if you clicked non-student, then it would actually go down into a time series, not or something like that. Those different relationships that exist. You
mhm.
can drill using the chart, you can drill down into the data.
Maybe
That would
2.0.
yeah, I was gonna say that sounds really cool, but yeah, I don't think that's gonna be
Okay. I just
yeah.
want I
Not
figured
not yet.
yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
Is
But yeah.
that mechanism, I think, would manifest itself as a change to the chart library itself.
Mm.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I
Yeah,
think
these are uh yeah.
the charting library is probably the most complex piece of the whole thing, and it does what it does here, and it accepts a certain amount of input, and it'll display it in a certain way. Yeah, Stephen Mayo, making it less configurable. Yeah. Yeah, there's a balance here for sure. You make it too configurable, and then it's reports again, and nobody can use it because it's too complicated. And then, uh, you know, and then you make it not configurable enough, and then again, you don't use it because it's not configurable enough. So
Yeah.
if we could kind of just make it already configured, so that you don't have to do much configuration, and it just does kind of what everybody kind of wants, which is, you want to see your circs, you want to see your holds. Um, and maybe you could change the time. You want to know last week, you want to know
Yeah,
today.
right. Yeah, there's gonna be a time element to this that we can play with too. So I have no idea what all will get put on the config page for these widgets. And honestly, some of it we could probably have in the configuration of the widget itself. Some of the configuration just kind of obfuscated out to where it's like you get a few selections, and then maybe this chart over here has a little bit more configuration options or whatever. I know that for the line charts and the bar charts, there's different configuration that goes into there. We have some accessibility hatching. I really don't know what the correct term for this is. What it does is it draws lines on the bars themselves to kind of give colorblind people a little breakup of the little box that makes up the bar. So there's some accessibility configuration behind the scenes that you can set for the pie and the bar chart that you can't really set for the line chart just because it doesn't make sense.
Mhm.
So
But
I
you can tab, like, I don't know if you showed it, but it's all part of those ARIA labels, and so
yeah,
you can tab with your keyboard, and a screen reader will read out which the value of the bar that you're on,
right.
you know.
Um, but yeah, there's a ton of stuff that you guys can configure, and I'm still building a lot of this stuff out, so it's going to get even more. Uh, I I don't want to overwhelm people though, so I would hate for you guys to flip this card over and be like, "Oh my God, that's so much. What do I do?" Uh, so trying to make this to everything that you need and nothing that you don't, basically. And how do we do that? Because there's a lot of stuff in here to make all this work.
Lindsay asked a question about getting these charts outside of the ILS, and I think that was sort of dreamt up in a previous conversation where maybe these could be exposed on a public page or iframed into the library's website. Um,
Right.
and that is sort of potentially possible. There's a security issue with making them public. So, like, if you design a widget that exposes more than you should, we should probably safeguard that.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think at least for our purposes, so like in this particular project, um, I mean, we anonymize our data like really, really aggressively. So security and patron privacy is, of interest to us. But we're kind of curious to know or to be able to link like circulation, say like by juvenile materials, say like by shelving location to libraries that, maybe they have a secretly really high population of, K through 12 students. So we're looking at trying to map, say, statistics for library material use to say like a demographic age range, things like that. So that's why we're fairly generic circulation type data um, from the ILS into this standalone dashboard that currently is kind of building more like library and community profiles. So that's kind of where I was going with that one.
Hmm. So if Evergreen had the extra data that it doesn't have now, then it could do it all underneath one program as opposed to having to take you're basically having to marry two data sets and then generate a
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, I would love to be able to have, say, like these kind of materialized tables that are, sort of do it all, or at least in terms of like these widgets that I could plug into, you know, this other site without having to have like, say, that big configuration, or it's just sort of like blah. This is kind of what you get. You get
Mhm.
this data, these tables on these metrics, you know. So
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice. I mean, we all want it all. I get it, and
Yeah, yeah.
we're
I just, if there was anything like, say, phase four, how to
uh
more easily get, like visualization or simplified data out
uh
of your Evergreen system. Because I mean, I write a ton of reports and not all of them, are super useful on the regular. But yeah, so
yeah.
just, I don't know. I'm super enthusiastic about the idea of having these sort of like very brief, pretty what you see is what you get, you know,
Uh-huh.
fit the more generic kind of needs of most of the people. I think that's, a really super cool direction.
Well, here in the year of 2025, there are lots and lots of projects out there that
Yeah.
visualize data, and they can be plugged into the Evergreen database and do basically anything you can dream of. And so we didn't want to reinvent that, because if you
Mhm.
want that, I think you just use that. I mean, Metabase, comes to mind. That was one most recently I saw a presentation about. Um, you know, so we're trying to we'd like it to be in Evergreen and just easy. You know, I think everybody can kind of rally around that whole notion. Like, if we could just get some basic stuff visual for everybody to see on the splash screen, that would be a huge win. That'd be like, the 80/20 formula. We got these graphs now. We've got this graph widget library, and that's all seems to be working pretty good. Now we're down to like, where do we put them, and what sort of columns do we want? Basically kind of a generic one size fits all most of the crowd. And if you want anything other than that, I think it's, make the report, go use the super powerful Evergreen port engine. Yeah, I mean, so back to what can it do? Can it go and get data from somewhere else? I suppose we could write a middle layer on the Evergreen server that would have credentials to a third-party data source that could API over there and go and get certain things and then shape the data in the JSON format that these widgets need and then ship that back to the. I mean, yeah, I mean, it sure seems like, I mean, anything's possible. We could do it. I could see a way forward with that notion and then getting it graphed right there in the Evergreen ILS. I don't know that that's in the scope for trying to get this into Evergreen 317, but
Aspirational goals. You need a
mm-hmm,
special
Mhm.
tag.
mm-hmm.
Elizabeth asked about the charts in the reporter, which is something that we have talked about extensively. Um, I want to say that it is possible the way that these charts are written. It's totally possible. I just don't know when or how that would actually work. Like how when we could actually build that out into something like that.
To
Um,
answer Elizabeth, I think no. Right, I mean, like right away, I think no. Like on the first release, if this gets merged in, I don't know that that's
right.
that's in the scope. Like, I think the chart library that the reporter uses when it goes and generates the report, it's using server side. What's it called? Oh, image trick or magic trick, image magic,
Image magic. Yeah.
image magic, and it can take kind of like any data and sort of try to make a half attempt at making a, and you've seen the results. It's okay, but another thing that is happening over there is it's done offline, like it's not live on the page, so it's generated on the server time, and it might take an hour. And so that's kind of a different can of worms. It would
Yeah.
be, I agree though, it'd be kind of neat to see these charts sort of like baked into the regular report interface on the fly. But the data has to be shaped perfectly. That's the problem. If if you just pick any old column out of the database, it's just basically not going to work. These charts really require the data to be exactly the way these charts are
Yeah.
designed to be. They got to be in JSON for one thing. And they've got to the the way they're laid out.
Yeah, it is. I want to say it is possible, but like I said, I just have no idea. That might be another developer's problem, and then they can just reuse this charting library.
Yeah. Well, we're super excited about getting the library itself, the chart library, added in, and then maybe using that on a dashboard page on alpha, really, on release 317 for the first time it gets in. There's an example page that can show the power of that widget library, and then what can happen after that, we could build on top of it. Anyway, I think the takeaway here is if you've got a Launchpad account, you should put your 2 cents on there. Just vote up like circulation X and
Yeah.
Y. Hmm.
There was an idea about like sort of endorsing um Scott's original idea about the Google Doc, which I think is not a bad idea for those
Hmm.
folks who maybe are not Launchpad-y.
Yeah, and we can link that in the
Yeah.
ticket too. So yeah,
So do you want to create that, Scott, or would you like me
I
to?
yeah, I can absolutely create that, and
Cool.
then I'll get it a link posted on that bug, and then yeah, we can just go from there. I'm gonna take everything from the chat, really go through everything and
Awesome.
get it started. So and then also mention just everything that we currently have, which is not everything that you guys see on the screen right now. So there's more to it.
And I think Lindsay had an idea about like ranking, like allowing people to rank stuff. I don't know how that would work in a Google Doc, though.
I think that's a great idea, though.
Yeah.
If we could
Yeah,
boil it down to option A, B, C, D, E, and then
Mm,
upvote, and then we take
yeah.
the top five, kind of
yeah.
thing. That'd be cool.
And I
Maybe.
do need to stress that there is plans to build out a dashboard widget designer type page to where you guys can create your own widgets without having to know how to code or do any of that stuff. So that is in being planned. It still needs to be figured out on how it's all going to work, but yeah, that's definitely something. So I just don't want you guys thinking that, oh, if I don't get my widget in, I'll never get it. Uh, this is going to be kind of the initial stock set of widgets that you guys that kind of gets shipped with this, and then whenever we get that designer built, you guys can go in there and just go to town, make as many of them as you want. I would love to have some way to make these shareable and have to where somebody over here makes this really cool thing. Uh, we can just copy it or whatever. Yeah, shareable. Yeah, totally. So that's a lot of what I have kind of on my mind. What do you guys think? Is this like visually, does this look like something that you guys want? Is there anything that you guys would change about the way that this looks now, as far as like uh, the way it's just anything really? I mean,
Would
yeah,
there
it's all
be,
JSON config too, by the way. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I was just curious, like from an administrative standpoint, would it be possible to have like the splash screen where we set the standard, dashboard and then folks would have like everyone has the same widgets, or is it unique to per user?
Well, see, and that's the thing is, I want to do both, honestly. I would love to have a user-based widgets and then widgets that are kind of for everybody, that are just kind of like uh, org unit wide, I guess you could say.
Okay.
This,
Yeah, because we really like the splash screen because we've been pushing out news and things that way. Our libraries haven't started customizing them yet, so it's been working very well for us, but being able to have like the same dashboards and things as a default for everyone is helpful.
Well, the splash screen by design is set up like that. So I suppose we would just get all that functionality for free if you set a widget at the consortium level, and none of the descendants have overridden, then they would get the same thing
Mhm.
that you put at the yeah. I guess the question becomes, do we want that chart to dynamically show different data based on who you're logged in as? And I think the answer is probably yes. It kind of depends on the chart. Like, if you want the chart to only show you the number of circs for your library, and your library in this context would be probably your workstation registration library where you've logged into, you'd want that splash screen to only show that. But you could configure the splash screen at the consortium level. I think this is what you're saying.
Yeah, like everyone sees their daily circ for their library.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so the widget would be sort of dynamic. And I believe that's absolutely possible. In fact, it might even be the way it is. I think that those charts default, right, to who's contextual aware. It's aware of who's logged in.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. There is a setting in the JSON config to where you can kind of override that, but whatever you're logged in as as you can see, we're logged in under BR1. So uh, anything above this consortium level, we're not being displayed, but everything below that can be. So
So absolutely. Yeah, the splash screen. I think that's a fine idea. Configured based on OR unit. Helpful to have an admin page to configure based on org unit.
So,
So
so like following what Elizabeth said, with like the way the staff portal does it, having an admin page where you could go in and set up the dashboard, either like a global one or per different org units, and then the users could go in and configure if they don't want to use the default. But I'm just from a support side, having something that we could set up and then people could just not touch it if they don't want to or don't feel comfortable doing that. Or if they have the knowledge, the capability to go in and make the settings would make a huge difference. The idea of having to walk every user through how to set this up, for it to display useful things to them, is a little daunting from the support side.
yeah, yeah. I think I don't think Scott talked about it, but there's right now Stephen Mayo. Stephen Mayo's a major contributor to this, and so his notion was a library setting. And so that's the way it is right now. If you go to library settings, I think he can show it off. Go ahead, Scott. If you go to administration, local administration,
do we have that set up yet? I don't know if we have
it's in
that.
there. Yeah, yeah,
Is it? Okay.
yeah. Library setting, and it's a
Um,
it's a library setting with a funky. Go ahead, type in dashboard. So I think default dashboard widgets. So this is sort of the idea where you could, well, the GUI is messed up, but you can define the widgets that's on the dashboard page. That's the way the branch is right now. You design it via a library setting, and you choose between, certain a rigid set of widgets. But to me that may to me I don't know if Steven's here, but to me I think that isn't going to work ultimately. Like, are we going to use a single library setting with a rigid set of widgets to choose from for the dashboard? Or yeah, I don't know. We kind of kicked that can down the road and we worked on other pieces of the features, but
Yeah, we had a lot of breaking changes here recently, and so when we brought in the material tables, that broke a lot of stuff. So we're still trying to get it all plugged back in. So I do think that this library setting stuff uh, we'll probably just work on it and flesh it out some more. So uh, it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I think it works in the library setting editor if we had crispy, clear widget definitions. And so we have a widget that just does this one thing. And we have 10, and we have 10, we'll always have 10, there's only 10. And you can check and uncheck out of those 10, and those are the ones you get. And you can, turn on number 2, turn on number 5, turn on number 7, and we don't want to see 1, 3, you know. And that's a library setting at the consortium level or at the system level or at the branch level, and that gets applied to whatever branch you're on. And when you go to the dashboard page, you get whatever the library setting dictated for those widgets. If you design this feature like that, I think one of the precursors, it's predicated on these widgets be set in stone. No changes, no additions, no subtractions. 10 widgets, and those are the ones you choose for the library setting.
I I kind of liked the idea of the splash screen interface and being able to kind of customize it that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the hugest fan of having everything in a library setting, so
Yeah, and I liked the idea that you guys had about being able to customize your own widgets if you were
Mhm.
eligible or, if you had the skills to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try my best to make it simple to use. Getting that data is going to be kind of difficult because, I mean, we're no strangers to the reporter being complicated. So I don't want to redo that. You know what I mean? So I want this to be super simple, and there are some ideas. There's actually some stuff I was looking at yesterday that I've been still meaning to kind of talk it out with Blake a little bit on. We recently had the Evergreen Hackaway, and so Mike there had suggested PRQL, I think is what it's called. And so that I don't know how technically hard that's going to be for people, uh, but to
The
build, yeah,
the idea behind that notion was to make it rigid controlled so that they
right for permissions. Yeah, it's
yeah.
for controlling the PII stuff, so we're not leaking out personal information on people. And so we lock it down to just these tables that have absolutely no personal information into them. And then we use this uh, PRQL language to query that data, which is,
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be a challenge. So,
Right. So Michelle is saying so that the materialized approach was sort of after that discussion. So right now we're using a materialized table approach in a schema in the day. By the way, there's a new schema in the database called dashboard. So the schema is dashboard, and it's going to contain all of this stuff. The materialized tables, the definition for the widgets themselves are going to be in there, and then all the functions are in the dashboard schema.
yeah, so you're never really given access to the live tables with these widgets. That's the idea. And so
Hmm.
you guys are going to be kind of confined into this to
Yeah.
whatever's in these tables. That's kind of where at the beginning of this whole talk, that's I kind of dove off into the tables a little bit because it's what holds the data that you guys are wanting. And so while we're
Hmm.
still kind of developing this, it's a lot easier to make these changes now versus we release it, you guys are using it, and then it's like, oh, can you make this change? And it's like, that's so much more difficult now that we've kind of
Mhm.
merged it, and you know what I mean. So
You bet. Yeah.
uh, it's a lot easier to mold it while
Um,
we can.
uh, and
So
along those same lines, we didn't mention a feature that I put in there based on Galen's suggestion, opting out.
yes,
I, so I added a global database setting, global flag. Is it a global flag or internal flag? I think it's global flag, for opting out, and you can put in an org unit, that wants to opt out. So like his example was prisons, where they don't want prisoners to even be in this even be in the stat tables. So like the whole entire org unit would be exempt from being collected into the materialized table.
That
So
makes
the
sense for like schools, K-12 schools too.
yeah. So the feature right now has respects the global setting where you feed it a list of org units that are exempt, and it will not materialize that into the materialized table, materialize your rows from the action circulation, for example. Those won't get put into the stat tables. So that's so we did that. That's kind of along these same lines. The opt out, yeah. So I was thinking by default, like out of the box, whenever you upgrade to the version of Evergreen that includes this feature, I think out of the box it would be an opt out. And so by default you're opted in. So you would have to know ahead of time to set your flags to opt out. Will remove the rows from the table if you opt out later. So yeah, you have to run the function. But yeah, yes, I mean it's not that hard. You would put your opt out information on the opt out table and then run the function that populates the stat table, and it would kind of rerun and recalculate the stat table. The stat table, I keep talking about that, and I don't feel like it's permanent, but it sure seems like it's a winner. But it's a triggered table. So after you populate it, it's ongoing for its lifetime. It will continue to get new rows as things get added and subtracted from action circulation. So it's kind of live materialize, just like materialized money, billable exec summary. We've gone long on this meeting, so
Yeah.
I think I'm waiting for somebody to be like, all right, this sounds good, looks good. Talk, you know.
I was just
yeah.
letting you guys go, but I think we could use
Yeah, I mean, we can wrap it up. It's fine. I guess the main thing that I want to take away from this meeting is uh, really just what you guys are wanting to see out of these widgets, and because I can create them so much easier than somebody trying to learn how to do all this stuff. So while I'm at it, I can just go to town just creating all these things and getting them propped up and ready. So if you guys want to go check out the bug link that we put in the chat there, go and just give us whatever it is you think, just whatever it is. And if you don't want to do that and you just want to send me an email, I'm okay with that too. But I'd really like for everybody to see thoughts, because that really helps, I think. Uh, just getting the kind of the creativity going on all this. So if you guys could go put all the feedback that you want, thumbs up, thumbs down, what you like, what you don't like, what you want to see, what you don't want to see, that sort of thing. Just let me know what you think. That's really what I want from you guys. I've been looking forward to this meeting for a little while now. So
Also, I'll add that the test server, the EG dashboard live demo server, should basically be available, until, forever. So the idea is to keep it up for people to test. So you can bounce off of that server if you ever wanted to look at it again. It should kind of always be
yeah.
there, or at least we're trying to. We've had some power outages that knocked it out for a while here and there, but anyway.
Thank you so much, Scott and Blake, for your work on this.
And
And
Steven, don't forget Steven.
Stephen.
Steven, he's hiding in the shadows, but he is definitely a part of this. So, uh, yeah, I really appreciate it, Jessica. I
Of course.
thank you for putting this together for us.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming and for giving your feedback. And we look forward to more conversations about these developments in the future.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right. Yeah. Thanks, guys. See ya.